I'm Nupur Dave, and today I'm going to talk about a topic that is of interest to many NRIs, which is moving to India to do a startup of your own. So why are so many NRIs thinking about entrepreneurship? First thing is many NRIs just pick the first job that they get. So they're not happy with the job. Doing a startup in India is a good alternate option to the monotony and the constraints of working abroad. The second reason is that the Indian startup culture is booming. There's a lot of support from the government as well. This wind has reached abroad. The success of Indian startups have reached the news, and NRIs want to taste that job fulfillment or even just simply fame. A startup could be an elixir to get out of a boring job or just the itch of starting something of your own. But if you are one of those NRIs, here are a few things to keep in mind. The first point is what I call entrepreneurship porn. It is the fantasy of being successful. Now, you've read about successful founders that have reached the summit and you want it for yourself, but you are unaware of what they had to do to get there. The hustle, the localized skills, the mentorship, and the heartbreak. I also want you to be very aware that a lot of the behind the scene decisions that many of these founders may have had to make may not fit within your moral structure. In fact, you may have to change who you are or become something else to become that successful startup founder. So you have to be really aware of this fantasy that you have, which I call entrepreneurship porn, versus what it actually means. And this is dangerous because there are NRIs who may be jumping in too early. Like you have to pull up roots to move. So like you're selling a home, leaving behind a dollar salary, possibly taken years to convince your spouse, and then you move all the way to India only to find that entrepreneurship is something you really weren't ready to be a part of. Your personality may not be fitting in. The second point is the cultural challenges. When you do move to India, you have to navigate multiple challenges that are very specific to NRIs. So the CEO of the company I work at is told me about NRIs who are getting into a business find that people may not be naturally motivated. While a full-time job abroad gives you a very safe trekking path, here in entrepreneurship land, you are airdropped into a forest without a GPS. You have to start figuring out how to deal with people. Hiring is one place where NRI entrepreneurs are more hurt. So, for example, somebody was telling me that you don't get straight answers from potential employees. Like their commitment is vague, and this frustrates everyone, but it hurts NRIs even harder because you come from a very different experience set where you can trust people. When they say they're joining, they're joining. Hiring in India is like a constant stab in the ribs. Candidates don't show up for interviews. Then they'll use your job offer to negotiate elsewhere. There's a very, very high churn. Indian entrepreneurs have started to learn a way around it. So, for example, some company I worked at, they did not offer letters in writing because the candidate would use it almost 100% of the time to negotiate elsewhere. Other companies give long notice periods. There are many things that you as an NRI will find restrictive and odd and not in your moral compass. Once you become an entrepreneur, you find that you yourself are either coming up with similar ideas or adopting practices that other companies do. Now, point three, local hustle. Local hustle problems for NRIs include networking. So you have built up a network abroad, but not in India. And it takes time to build a network in India. Another local hustle is underestimating the complexity of procedures to set up a company. For this, you need a middleman. Many companies that I work for hire a CA who knows the process of registering a company. There are other local hustles. So, for example, one founder spoke about how he was used to traveling to clients' offices and starting meetings on time while he was in the US. He could do multiple meetings in a day, and he didn't understand the nuances of meeting start times in India. After working in India for his startup, he realized he had to set a whole day aside for one meeting instead of expecting three back-to-back meetings as he was used to in America. So what do you do as an NRI? Here are three things you can try. First, ask yourself the hard question, which is, are you really an entrepreneur at heart? Are you really into entrepreneurship, or are you looking for a way out of a stuck situation of a visa and a slow but comfortable job? Please take some time to answer this question. There are companies and vendors that owe you 10, 20, 30 lakh rupees, or you may have paid someone for a service that is worth 10 to 15 lakh and they didn't do anything. Would you get sleep at night? When these things actually happen to you, you'll start realizing that it's not easy. You have to be made of a very different material in order to be strong and become successful. Second is, start working on your idea while you are still abroad and see where it takes you before taking the plunge in India. There are many NRIs who come to me saying, I want to do a startup in India, but they don't have an idea. That's going to be slightly harder on you. I won't say it doesn't work, but just be careful. And the third is a much safer option, which is come to India with a full-time job and explore on the side. That's much, much easier, safer, gives you comfort and time to explore. Now, the truth is that the difficulties in the Indian entrepreneurship journey are hard even for Indians. So it's much harder for NRIs to step in, adjust, and snap into business mode in India. So Indian business requires some adjustments that many of you NRIs may or may not be able to take, and may need some really good mentorship for the long run. My suggestion is, start from where you physically are right now. You don't have to come to India and then start the startup idea. Once you start already working on it and exploring, you will understand what you need. I hope this helps. I'm Nupur Dave signing off, and yeah, reach out to me for any more questions. Bye.